All right, John. Like we met each other at the combine, and obviously, like you've been in the league for so long, like you're in the legend in our field. So can you bro?
Legend.
I'm telling you the truth. Like last year at Sun League, like see how many young guys like go up to you. So, um, obviously you're the head strength coach for Toronto Raptors. Outside of that, can you like introduce yourself a little bit, like share your story, how you get into the league?
How I got into the league. Okay, so my first introduction to the NBA was actually as a ball boy for the Vancouver Grizzlies. This was, I believe it was 1995, and I was their head ball person at the time. And so my job was to take care of our home locker room, take care of our training facility, uh, you know, small jobs just like that. So as I was doing that job, I was also a teacher. I was going to teacher college, trying to be a high school teacher eventually, and so I was kind of juggling two things all at the same time. So going to school, working with as a ball boy for the Vancouver Grizzlies, and during that time, I graduated from teacher college, uh, working with the Grizzlies still. And along the way, I met a couple of people with the organization. One of the people, that important person that I met, was Jay Triano. He was the head of community relations, and he was also the play-by-play person with the Vancouver Grizzlies. And him and I, we got to know each other, had a great relationship, and so on. And in 1999, at the same time, sorry, I have to add this. Jay was formerly the head coach for Simon Fraser University and a longtime national team player as well. And 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 so in 1999, uh, one day Jay asked me to come to his office, and I go in there, and he's like, "Hey, John, I don't know if you know, but I just got named the head coach for the Canadian national team." And I'm like, "Jay, I just heard. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. That's a great honor." And as I was congratulating him, he's like, "Hey, John, I've talked to a lot of people in the building, and they said that you would make a great manager for my team, for the team." And I'm like, first thing I said was like, "What?" I literally turned around to make sure that there was nobody else behind me. He's like, "You mean you really want me to be your manager?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Jay, I'd be honored to represent the country, to be a part of this thing." Right. And so in 1999, I officially became the manager for the senior men's national team. And during our first training camp, back then we didn't have a big staff. It was a head coach, two assistant coaches, one team doctor, and one athletic trainer. That's it. So shoestring budget, very small group. We didn't even have a strength coach at that time. So I asked Jay, it's like, who's doing any of this? It's like, well, the athletic trainer is the one doing it. And him, the athletic trainer at the time, I got to know really well. Glenn Parsons, still a good friend of mine. And I'm like, "Glenn, I can help you with this. I have a PE degree. I know some things about, strength and conditioning." And so that year in 1999, I decided to, like, "Hey, I want to be a strength and conditioning coach to add onto my resume." So I did the CSCS exam. And so I was team manager for Team Canada and also de facto strength and conditioning coach. So what really helped uh, my position was, as I was becoming a strength and conditioning coach in the summertime, when some of my players didn't have access to a gym, I still had access to the Vancouver Grizzlies gym. So we would go in there and we would be able to train using the Grizzlies facilities and so on. Right. And so in 1999, we did some amazing things, and we ended up qualifying for the 2000 Sydney Olympics. Nobody gave us a chance to even have a have a shot at it, but we ended up surprising the world. We had some great players that stepped up, and we ended up going to the Olympics in 2000 in Sydney. And if you were to ask me what were the great accomplishments as a career wise, I would, between winning the championship and representing your country at Olympic Games, they're pretty close. I might even lean on representing your country slightly above, because that is something that truly, something that I feel that I take a lot of pride in, of what Canada is to me, and our national team and the guys that we had. Right. That's something that's still close to who I am. Right. And especially getting the opportunity at that uh, early development of my career, being able to do those things. Right. So 2000, we surprised the world. Ended up losing to France to go into the medal round. It's a little bit disappointing, but we certainly had a lot of highlights. Uh, some of the players at that time that played on that team was Steve Nash. Steve Nash was an up and coming point guard at that time. Todd McCullough, who was in the league for about 7 or 8 years, and we only had two NBA players. Right.
Hmm.
And then one of the players that I had was Rowan Barrett, RJ's dad. So we're going way back. I mean,
Yeah.
in 2000 was the year that RJ was born. No, sorry, 2000 was the year Rowan got married.
Oh.
Oh, so I wasn't there from the beginning with RJ when he was first thought of. No, I'm just kidding. Right. So that's how far back I go, I guess. And
Yeah.
so fast forward a little bit. I was a high school. The Vancouver Grizzlies left. I did some personal training on the side, uh, uh, because I had a little bit of through word of mouth from some people. Uh, if players were in Vancouver to film a movie, they would reach out to me to see if I could do some personal training for their athletes and so on. And I did some private stuff with players that wanted to get back in the league. Uh, and at that time, I also um, opened up a my own basketball company. We called it Western Canada Basketball Academy, and I had two partners. One partner did the skills and drills, the other partner did the tactics, and I did all the strength and conditioning and so on. So we had a nice little group that we were able to do for a couple of years. It was fun doing that, just to get the experience of, like, as far as working with different age groups, different ranges of skill level, and so on. Right.
Hmm.
And so I was a high school teacher for 11 years before I actually took this job. And the way this job came out was, over the years, Jay became the head coach for the Toronto Raptors. So after he left the national team, he worked in the NBA, longtime assistant, and he got the opportunity to become a head head coach. And then he asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to work together again?" And I'm like, "I'd love the opportunity." So they had somebody in mind already. My good friend Francesco Cusoli, who is one of the top strength and conditioning coaches in Europe. And so he came over. He was the head guy. He hired me as his assistant. After 2 years, Francesco had to move back to Italy, and so I took over, and I've been in Toronto ever since. So that's kind of a roundabout way how I got into the league. It's not probably not the same route a lot of people take, and it's just a little bit different.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. Cause,
Yeah.
'cause definitely like especially the last week we were at Combine, you can tell like everybody have their own story of like the grind, how they go to the NBA. So the following question is this like Is this a job that you always wanted to be? Like you all do always want to be in the NBAs?
You know what? I didn't even think of it. I working in the NBA, I didn't really even think about it because when I was, doing my private stuff and personal training, it was just something I really loved, and they would pay me money, and I'm just like, oh, that's a bonus, right? And it's something that it was more of a hobby for me. I just loved this hobby that they were just paying me, and finally, when I got into the NBA, I'm like, this is incredible. I'm getting paid to do my hobby full time. And it was just like, wow. And I would say for the first, 5, 6 years, I didn't I didn't work I say I didn't work a day with the Raptors because this is something I really, really enjoyed. I started to see it as work when I missed a lot of things and I was away from my family, right? This job, uh, you're on all the time, and you don't get weekends off during the season. There's no weekends. You're lucky to get 3 days, maybe 3 days a month, maybe. And sometimes when they say it's a day off, you still have to come in because you're always rehabbing somebody or somebody always wants to work out and so on. So if you get one full blackout day a month, that's considered good. Compared to when I was a high school teacher, we only worked 197 days a year. When you think about it, you know, being a high school teacher, you get every weekend off, right? And there's usually one statutory holiday a month. Okay, so that's what 8, 9 days off already,
Mm-hmm.
just by default. Okay, you get every 2 weeks in Christmas, right? You get sometimes 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks in spring break,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get the whole summer, 2 months off. So you
Mm.
know, th- when you ask, like, I work way more in the NBA than I ever did as a teacher when you count the days that you're always on,
Yeah.
right? Right. But at the same time, it's not work for me. It's it's a passion.
Yeah.
It's become a passion, and when you have the success that I've fortunately been able to have, it makes you even want to work harder. Right.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like you guys have like a pretty good, like you guys are pretty good in the last like few years, and not a lot of soft tissue injury compared to the league. So, talk to me about like your approach to like uh off-season training and in-season like managing all those small stuff.
Uh oh, those are nice words, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for that compliment. You know what? I'm 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 going to tell you some of the things that we do, but a lot of it has to do with the staff that we have. We're a very cohesive unit. Uh, we constantly talk. So, for example, um, a player will come in and we'll see a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be complaining about, say, a hamstring issue, right? That therapist, after that session, will come to us in the weight room and say, so and so is a little bit bothered by this hamstring. Do you have something for him to help him? And we'll take the guidance from the physiotherapist as well. Like, hey, John, I don't want him doing this, this, or this. And like, fine, we'll just change it. Right. And so we're constantly communicating. At the same time, if I see something in the weight room that I don't like, I'll tell the therapist. I say, hey, I noticed that they were struggling with this exercise. Can you take a look at their calf or whatever it is? And then they'll say yes. Afterwards, after the workout or after they come in, they say, hey, John, I'm struggling with this calf. I'll go see so and so. We'll talk about it, and then we work collaboratively together. I think that's one of the best things that we've ever done. When I first started in the league, it wasn't like that. I was a strength conditioning coach, minimal communication with trainer, minimal communications with a physiotherapist, and we call that silo working. You only work in your little bubble or your little silo. And over the years, we've taken those bubbles down, we've taken those silos down, and it's a lot more collaborative. So we're constantly talking. Massage therapists will say, "Hey, John, so and so has got this issue." We're like, "Okay, we'll change the exercise." Right. So it doesn't matter who it is. We just adapt. Okay.
Mm.
As far as the soft tissue, my philosophy is uh, we work from. I usually work from the bottom up, or so that I don't miss certain parts. So we always do an activation for the ankle. We always do an activation for the knee or the quad. We always do an activation for the hamstring. We always do an activation for the glutes, and then we always do an activation for like the shoulders or core. So small little things. So for example, I'll have like five, six, seven different ankle activations. So it might be, for example, calf raises on the power plate just to get them warmed up. Okay, I want you to do a single leg, double leg, single leg. Make sure you stretch that Achilles. Make sure you stretch that calf, the soleus, everything else. That's one exercise. Now you're going to go over here. You're going to do um, hamstring curls with the physio ball. Now we're getting the hamstrings activated. Next, we'll do like a lateral push on the physio ball laterally to activate the glutes, right? And then now we're going to do these banded squats, activate the knee and the patellar tendon. Okay. And now we're going to do these cable face pull for the shoulder. So every day, these guys have to do 5 different things, right? And they might just do one set. Sometimes they do 2 sets, whatever they do. But you have to do these things before you get on the floor, right? And the way I see it, even though it's only one set, and it might only take 3 minutes to do everything, right? But you're doing 3 minutes every single day, or almost like what do you call it, microdosing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so they have to do it every single day. It doesn't take very long, and uh, adherence is pretty high. Buy-in
Nice.
is very high because it's not going to take 20 minutes to do. Some
Yeah.
guys might take longer, like so you have the foam rolling stuff. You use the ball or whatever. Whatever you need, you do it first. But you're going to do these things, right? If your routine is 10 minutes of foam rolling, I don't care. Yeah, you can do that. But you have to do these,
Mm.
right? And so I don't know if I truly believe in small hits for every single part. And I think we've been able to, mitigate a lot of stuff. Obviously, you can't prevent like stepping on somebody's foot or you know, traumatic injury during play or anything like that. But I think the soft tissue stuff, I think we can really, really control. I hope, right? It's not saying that we didn't have any, uh, but that helps.
Nice. Nice.
That makes
So
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously like every team are doing this uh biomechanics lab whatsoever, and a lot of team have their like every team have their own approach. So I guess my question is like, how do you think that's gonna help us like maybe decrease the chance of like the risk of getting injury?
Ooh, through biomechanics, that's what you're asking.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh. I think it's a starting point. It's a baseline. Okay. I remember, for example, if you're able to capture it and show the player, okay, then they have a visual of what they look like. And I think that's super important. Okay, so I'm going to go through something with you. So, my first year, uh, I had a player and I said, "Hey, I need you to do an overhead squat for me." Okay. And so this was his reaction. Okay, let me see if I can get in the camera here. So, overhead squat. First thing he did was just do this, and which is basically like a bowing motion, and with a slight bend in the knee. So if you were to look at from the side, it'd be this. And I'm like, hey, you need to do a squat for me. And his response was, I am. And so their body awareness is there, it's not exactly the greatest. Okay, mind you, this player only played 1 year in college. Okay, so he was a talent coming out of high school. Probably in high school, he didn't get much strength and conditioning, right? He goes to college, all he's thinking about is playing. He's not getting much either. And then he gets drafted, right? This player was very, very quad dominant, right? And which leads to sometimes issues with the knee. So I said, hey, this is, we talked and we were like, hey, this is how you're really supposed to squat. And to them, if they don't see it, they think they're doing the right thing. I
Yeah.
think that's where biomechanics, like having a picture, having them visually see it, having a comparison of like, here's the proper technique with their technique at the same time. For example, you have a direct comparison. It's like, hey, see how you're shifting to the left, see how you're shifting to the right. We need to address those things, right? And even if we don't even have to use weight, we can just use body weight and adjust these things first before we even add weight, right?
Mm, nice, nice.
So I think that's where biomechanics can really give us a real good baseline. And and now we can start asking questions. You see something on the film of the biomechanical film, and then you can start asking questions like, how's your left knee? And then it's like, why? It's like, well, when you do this certain movement, it's jutting out to the jutting out outside or caving in. I think maybe we need to address your glutes or your ankle or something else to get to the better form, right? So I think that way it can, I think, give the players the education to see things for themselves.
Mm,
Because them, they think they're doing it okay.
yeah, yeah,
And
nice.
they can still jump out of the gym.
Yeah,
They can
yeah,
still do all
yeah,
those things,
yeah,
but eventually it's gonna break down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it. I like it. So, obviously, like you started 2009 as a assistant strength coach, like you said, and throughout all these years, like it's almost like 20 years in the league. So you've seen like before we have force plate, probably before we have like the LPS or GPS data, before we have Hawkeye. Um, and what's interesting is with all those technology, you actually have the league actually have more soft tissue injury. We have more and more injury. So I guess my question is like your thoughts on like integrating those technology into our training. Like how do you manage, how do you balance it?
Well, when I was first, like when I first started in the early years, we had catapult and we needed to try to use the tracking and everything, it was very difficult. Even at the same heart rate was a challenge to add it on to all the guys. So some guys will comply to it, some guys won't, and so on, right? uh, how does it add? Boy, the way it's changed is we our staffs are getting bigger, right? So now we have a dedicated sports science person. Thank God, because I used to have to do some of that. You know, for 15 years, I was the only guy. So I was in charge of nutrition, doing shakes, and doing all those things. I was in charge of pseudo sports science, if you that's what you want to call it, or the tracking, right? In charge of programming, whatever it was. I wore a lot of hats, right? Now that we have the right proper people in place and helping out and being able to interpret all these numbers without getting overwhelmed, uh, I think it's helped us make better decisions. So, for example, our sports science uh, person, Gio, excellent. He'll take a look at these numbers and he's figuring out what type of practice it was, how much we did, and so on. And now he's able to make a decision or recommend a decision for the next day's practice to our coaches. and so on. And so now we're okay. Say it's a day where we exceeded what we were supposed to do. Now he'll make the recommendation to say, hey, I think we need to tone this down a little bit. Coaches listen. And then now we've changed the practice of depending on what was said on the metrics. So I think that's helped us a lot. And to say that there's more soft tissue injury, I you know, I don't think metrics have anything to do with that. I think maybe the metrics we use as a guide. Uh, yeah, I don't know how to answer that really.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
hopefully
it's
what I just said before
yeah,
was like
yeah,
it made sense.
yeah, yeah, of course, of course. And obviously the sport have changed a lot. The league changed a lot. The rules changed a lot in the past like 10 years. Um, and with all the sports science stuff, how like do you feel like there's a lot of changes in our field, like with more and more information with AI and all that stuff? And how do you manage those chaos?
How to manage the chaos of technology in our
You
field?
technology and with all the research out there, what like how do you get the right information?
You know what? From my experience, I think it just comes down to experience and what you truly believe is your philosophy. I'm not going to be 100% right. You're not going to be 100% right. I could be wrong half the time, right? But if I'm wrong half the time, maybe I see more injuries. You know, over the years, I've taken a lot of stuff out of my program. Okay. So, for example, one of my philosophies, I don't back squat a lot of guys. I had in my 17-year career, I had maybe 4 or 5 guys that I allowed to back squat. And that's because they showed me that they have had good technique and good training, right? So, for example, I had one of my best back squatters was Tyler Hansbrough. Okay, Tyler Hansbrough played the NBA for many years. He was the North Carolina's points leader. Well, guess what? He spent 5 years in college, and he had a good training program there. His technique was impeccable because he had the proper resources. I'll go back to the rookie that I talked about doing that squat. He had nothing. And you know, when I showed you that positioning that he had, and if I was to back squat him, that's
Yep.
just that's just asking for a blowout in the back.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah,
So unless you showed me good technique, another player had Luis Scola, you know, with Argentina. He played in Argentina, good
yeah,
program, good everything, right? A good pro. He liked lifting, and so he always had good technique. Uh, Bismack Biyombo was another guy. Like these guys that like to lift and they have good technique. Hey man, go for it. But for me, the risk reward ratio for trying to teach someone new so the back squat, uh, it's just I think it's too risky
yeah,
for me. So there's other ways to do it. We go single leg, uh, uh, single leg dumbbells and all different ways, goblet squats, whatever you want to think of. Right.
yeah. Stupid question, but like,
No such thing.
what about trap bar? What about trap bar
Trap
deadlift?
bar, loved it. Love the trap bar. And I'll do trap bar in a standing position, and then I'll do trap bar in a split position. Every possible position, you gotta change it. You have to almost be in the position that they're playing in, right?
Mm,
The guys that really, when you think about it, the 2 foot jumpers are the rebounders going up for the rebound. Most guys are single leg jumpers, whether it's a layup or a dunk. Very few. I don't think there are many guys that do the 2 foot dunks anymore, unless you're underneath the rim,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Most of them is a single leg takeoff,
yeah, yeah.
right? When you think about the sport and the game.
Um, so obviously, like in the past, like I think 2, 3 years, everybody been talking about like game day lift, game day lift. I don't know, is it because like we just have more access to like internet, Instagram, Facebook, or whatsoever? And at the same time, like I saw like a few clips of uh I think it's in the 90s, like Chicago Bulls. The guys were just saying like we do game day lift back then. Uh, so my question to you is like, is this a thing that like when you first started in the league, you already implement this, or like you guys approach are a little bit different?
So when I first started the league, uh, for the lifting portion, all I needed from the guys was 10 lifts a month. So whether you do it at practice or whether you do it at the game, whatever it was, that's all we asked for at the time, right? 10 lifts a month. You could do it on your day off. Well, it didn't really matter. Okay. But now that we have the game day lifts and the quadrant system, uh, I think was written or was introduced to us by I think it was Daniel Bove, right? He wrote a book about like the quadrant system,
Yes.
red days, yellow days, green days, orange days, right? We've taken that philosophy. So the reason why we have a game day lift is the game days is your highest exertion day when you're playing, right? You want to get to that highest level. You want to maximize the work on that one day. Therefore, we lift. Some guys will lift pregame. Some guys will lift postgame. Okay, so especially our starters, a lot of them will lift postgame because they're getting playing a lot of minutes. Guys that aren't getting a lot of minutes, they'll do all their conditioning beforehand, all the workouts, and then a lot of them will do a pregame lift. And then we'll adjust if somebody that's coming off the bench is getting more and more minutes. We'll suggest, hey, maybe let's do the lift post game so that you have a little bit more energy for the game. So it's always changing, right? And so if we have a red day, and then uh, the next day we know it's going to either be a yellow or a green. It'll just be a green would be like almost like we're going to get a lot. We'll get some things done, whether it's just the mobility stuff, whether it's just the activation stuff, maybe a little bit of core work, right? And then practice is usually a little bit lower too, from the coach's perspective. So a green day is a day where we can really, really regenerate. The way we used to do is like we'll have a practice day, and then the next day some guys will be like, oh, I want to lift super heavy today, la la la. And then but we have a game tomorrow. How's that going to affect your game tomorrow? Right? We didn't even think about those things before. We just let them lift, right?
Hmm.
So
So
now we have a schedule and a science or a philosophy behind it. So hey, I some guys like that don't play is like, oh, I don't want to lift today. Like, no, you're lifting today. You're gonna stay in the same pattern as everybody else, right? You're not gonna go and do your own thing just because you're not playing. Because we
Mhm.
might need you in 2 days, and you're gonna have to follow that same program anyways. What if you lift on that green day, and then all of a sudden the next day we're playing, and you get thrown in, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm really sore. Excuse my language,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
right?
yeah, yeah, I like it. I like it. So, uh, last question before I let you go. Obviously, like I said, you've been in the league for like almost 20 years, win championship, help Jeremy Lin, help my guy Jeremy Lin. So, um, question to you. Like last year in the summer league, like a lot of young coaches go to you, ask for your advice. So obviously this is my first year in the league. So I I want to ask you like what would be your advice to me and what would be your advice to young coaches out there starting their career who wants to be in your role, who wants to be a head strength coach in the NBA one day?
Okay, couple of things. I think the one very very most important thing is just be a good dude. It's so simple. Just be a good person that people want to be around you, right? If your players don't want to be around you, it's like, well, you're not going to last very long. Coaches don't want to be around you. Staff don't want. And it boggles me that that's so hard now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just very difficult, right?
yeah,
Okay, just be a good person. You know, my job. You have the same knowledge as I do. You could do the programming. You could do this. You could do. A lot of people could do this, right? But I think part of my longevity is I get along with a lot of people, and I'm able to make relationships with players, coaches, staff, and I'm able to communicate with them. Uh, so you know those are the soft skills that you really need, right? A lot of us can
100%.
do the same job. A lot of us,
Yeah,
right? There's no magic. There's no magic to it,
yeah.
right? As long as you're not hurting the player and so on, you're doing okay. 95% of the time, you're doing okay,
Mm,
right?
yeah, true.
Second thing, right? Second thing, be the first one in the gym. Try it. Be the first one. Beat everybody. Like, well, what am I going to do there when there's nobody around? Well, work on yourself. You better do a workout. You know, get planned for the day. Have everything laid out. Be the first guy in the gym, right? Say good morning to every single person that comes in, right? Pick up that towel. Pick up that mess. Okay. Here's a story I'll tell you. One of my favorite stories. Uh, uh, Quite a few years ago, there's a coach in the league named Tim Gurgurich, and he was a very sought after assistant coach, coached in the league for maybe 30 years, and one of the best people that I know, right? And highly respected. He used to run these camps called Gerg's camps. Everybody came to these camps. Everybody worked for free. Players went there and it was free. Everything, everybody worked together collaboratively for one purpose: get the players better. And you as a coach learn from each other, share information, everything. And and being able to be a part of that camp for many years is like an eye-opening thing. It wasn't just the Toronto Raptors versus everybody. You go to this camp, you're just one person collaborating with every single other team in the league, right? And it was amazing the knowledge that you're able to share with each other when you just start talking. Okay, and so this is the type of man Coach Gerg was so respected, still is respected, right? He came to work with us, right? After practice one day, all the players have gone. I'm in the weight room cleaning up. I see Coach Gerg take a garbage can and go around this place and start picking up garbage at his age. After what, 30, 40 years in the league, he's still doing that. And I'm like looking at him like, yo, coach, you don't have to do that. Like, I'll do that. Right. He goes, no, John, we all work together. That was it. I'm like, who am I not to pick up a piece of garbage? This guy is like one of the best of the best, and he's still doing that. Hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. Right? Always be humble. Another example. I was watch. We landed in Miami, and another team was there as well. Right? And this coach was, I think, a six-time, had three, four rings, and this strength coach was still picking bags off the bus and the truck. I always did that, and I still do it to this day. I still help with luggage. Who am I? I'm not. I only got one championship. It's not even about championship. The faster we get the luggage off, the sooner the players get it, the sooner the players can get rest. That's how you think about it. It's not like, oh, I got to do luggage. That's not it. It's what's the best for the team, and you always got to keep pushing. Don't think about yourself. It doesn't matter that you have to stay up and deliver luggage because there's no bellman in the hotel that you go to, and you're the one helping deliver luggage. Who cares? You gotta get it done. That's
Mm,
all.
nice, nice. I
Simple
love.
things, man. Just hard work. Be the
Love.
first guy in. Be the first guy to pick up that garbage.
Mm, nice, nice. I love it. Thank you, Ghost. That's all the question I have for today.
Hey, great talking to you. Great meeting you last week. Right?
Yep.
Wishing you the best.
Thank you.